Alright, so I'm going to try to demonstrate how to use checkpoints in a battle run map. Checkpoints are basically what tells the game where to pan the screen as players progress through the map, and how to determine who's in first place to follow that player and leave others behind. They're under objects, right here, first page, sorry, that's spawn points, where your players are going to spawn. The green one is checkpoints. So you'll place the first one right here where your players are starting. Now, I don't know every little thing about how they work, but I did learn enough from the developers to make at least one map where they function properly. So I'll go ahead and show how we did that and a couple things you want to try to avoid. Alright, so first let's just place our checkpoints on the path we want players to follow. They're going to go clockwise around this map. So, like that, there. Now, I don't know for sure if every checkpoint needs to be touching. Like, you could probably have them go like that and it'll be fine, but this is how I've been doing it and this is how it's worked for me. You want to try to have them overlapping one checkpoint to the next, not too many to where like 3 or 4 are overlapping. Just try to make it one checkpoint to the next, one checkpoint overlapping the next one. And right here, like, you don't connect the line, the game automatically just connects the last checkpoint to the first one and loops around from there. Now, once you have your path set, you typically want to save and go test it, which you'll do by going back to the lobby, Neon World, My Maps, go to Battle Run, and bring up the map you're working on. Now, if there are people online willing to test it out with you, you'll go to host and send them the code right here. You can copy it right there. If not, if it's just you, you would go to play solo, and that will require you to place bot triggers so that the bots will follow the path long enough for you to test the map all the way around. But that's an even more complicated subject to get into later. So let's go ahead and test it out solo with bots. So if you fall behind, you should fall into the death zone and start losing health. But as long as you keep up, you should be fine. And if you get in first place and get pretty far ahead of the bots, the screen should still follow you, and the bots should fall behind, and the bots should eventually die. Now, there are some times that the game won't really follow the intended path, and it'll be causing all kinds of weird things to happen. So, like, for example, right here, if I'm going backwards, that should be putting me in last place, but here it's killing the bots that are still ahead of me, and I'll show you why that's happening. So it's actually not a problem with the checkpoints, it's a problem with the bots. Since I didn't finish doing the whole path with bots, they get stuck right here. And the way checkpoints work is whoever activated the furthest ahead checkpoint is in first place. So when the bots got stuck down here in this checkpoint and I went up a little bit activating this checkpoint, that put me in first place. So now I'm in first place until the bots get to that next checkpoint, which allowed me to run backwards and kill them because I'm still in first place until they get to that checkpoint. There are other things that can go wrong though with the checkpoints. For example, right here, there's this area where there's no checkpoints, and that usually wouldn't be a problem, except when it's possible to skip the checkpoints. So, for example, if this one's small enough for me to jump over, which I think it already was, but I make it smaller just to be sure. That shouldn't happen right there, that's a bug. So if I jump over that checkpoint, I'm gonna skip it, and I don't think I'm even activating the next checkpoints. I think it waits for me, like they have to be in order. So I'll show you what happens if I do that. So I jumped over the checkpoint, and now I should be in first, but I'm dying. That's because I'm not in first place, so no matter how far I go up ahead, if I go too far ahead, it's gonna kill me, because I didn't activate that last checkpoint, and the game is still waiting for me to activate that checkpoint that I jumped over. So the way you want to avoid that is by making sure your checkpoints are big enough that there's no possible way to go around them, over them, under them, whatever. You want to use the width to make sure that they're touching like floor to ceiling, wall to wall. There's no way to go around left or right, over or under. And right here, for a section like this, you could do the same thing and just make it big enough to cover the ceiling to the floor. Or if you don't want to make your checkpoint really big for a big section like this, you don't want it to overlap too many checkpoints, you could fix sections like this just by covering them with more ceiling. So that should make sure that players aren't able to go around the checkpoint, and just make it a little bit bigger here, like that. Another thing you want to watch out for is in sections like this, where one way passes very closely to the other way going back. You want to watch out for checkpoints being too big and overlapping with previous checkpoints through the wall or the ceiling, like right here. So if I were to like stop right here, it could cause problems activating this checkpoint. From what I'm told, I haven't seen that cause any problems testing it out, but that's something you want to try to avoid just in case. Just have one checkpoint all the way around, no way for people to activate them out of order. And that's basically it. There we go. Perfect.